Something happens to women when they hit 40 that almost nobody dares to speak out loud. One day she's making breakfast for the kids, folding laundry, planning family vacations. The next day, she's downloading dating apps, buying lingerie, and texting some guy from the gym, and you're left, standing there wondering, what the hell just happened to my wife? It's happening everywhere. Millions of men are watching their steady, dependable wives transform into teenagers with wrinkles. And the worst part, everyone acts shocked when it happens, like we couldn't see the warning signs written in her biology years ago. You think you know your woman. You think that because she's been with you for 15 years, raised your kids, built a life together, she's somehow immune to what's coming. Brother, you're living in a fantasy. There's a ticking time bomb inside every woman's psychology, and it goes off somewhere between 35 and 45. Not might go off, will go off. The only question is how much damage it does when it explodes. Men fail to realize that when a woman hits 40, she isn't the same person you married. This isn't about maturity or wisdom or spiritual growth. It's about a fundamental rewiring of her brain chemistry, her priorities, her entire sense of self. The woman who was content as a wife and mother at 30 becomes desperately hungry for validation at 40. And that hunger makes her do things that destroy everything you've built together. Yes, every woman's self-worth is built on her looks. From the moment she's born, society teaches her that her value equals her beauty. Be pretty, be wanted, be desirable. That's the programming. And for 2 decades from 15 to 35 that program runs flawlessly. Men chase her, compliments pour in, she feels valuable. Then biology does what it always does. It takes away what it gave. At 40, she looks in the mirror and sees a stranger. Not because she looks awful, but because she looks different. The face that once launched 1,000 ships now struggles to turn a single head. The body that made men stupid now gets polite smiles at best. And this isn't about vanity. It's about identity collapse. Her entire sense of self was built on being desired. And now that desire is evaporating like morning dew. Think about it. Imagine you're a professional athlete. Your whole identity, your worth, everything is tied to your performance. Then age catches up. You're not terrible, but you're not what you were. You can't do what you used to do. Now multiply that crisis by 10, and you'll understand what is happening in your wife's head when she realizes her beauty is fading. But here's the danger. Instead of accepting reality, instead of gracefully transitioning into a new stage of life, modern women panic. They rage against time itself. And the first casualty in that war, your marriage. At 22, a compliment was background noise. She rolled her eyes. Yeah, I know I'm hot. But at 42, that same compliment lights up her brain like fireworks. Proof she still has it. Validation that she's not invisible. That single compliment from a stranger becomes more valuable than 10 years of your devotion. Why? Because your devotion is expected. His attention is optional. That's the dirty secret no one talks about. Married women over 40 are the easiest targets for seduction, not because they're evil, but because they're starving. Starving for the thrill of being chosen by someone who doesn't have to choose them. Your attention doesn't count anymore, you're locked in. But that random guy at the coffee shop who notices her, that's pure dopamine. And once she gets that first taste of outside validation, it's over, not immediately, but inevitably. Now she knows what she's been missing. Now she remembers what it felt like to be pursued, to be a fantasy instead of just someone's reality. And that memory becomes an itch your stable, predictable love can never scratch. You want to know the exact moment your marriage enters the danger zone? It's when she starts talking about her past with a smile instead of embarrassment. When she mentions her ex-boyfriends, not with disgust, but with nostalgia. When she tells stories about her single days with sparkling eyes instead of relief they ray over. That's when the countdown begins. Here's the brutal biology lesson no one teaches. A woman's brain literally rewires itself as she ages. The chemical reward system that made her feel alive at 25, by 45, it's running on fumes. What used to flood her with pleasure barely moves the needle now. At 20, holding hands made her heart race. At 40, she needs an emotional earthquake just to feel a tremor. Your romantic dinner feels like routine, maintenance, the weekend getaway, boring. Intimacy you've perfected over years, background noise. Her neurological pathways demand bigger and bigger stimulation just to feel alive. And you, my friend, are the opposite of extreme. You're safe, predictable, invisible. That's why women's most vicious betrayals happen after 35. Not because they're monsters, but because they're desperate. Desperate to feel alive. Desperate to matter. Desperate to be more than someone's aging wife. The same woman who was satisfied holding hands at 20 now needs an emotional affair at 40, just to feel a spark. The same loyal wife of 15 years suddenly becomes capable of cruelties you couldn't imagine, and you'll sit there saying the same line every betrayed husband says, "I never saw it coming." Brother, the signs were always there. You just didn't want to see them. It starts with nostalgia. She begins romanticizing her past, talking about her wild years with a sparkle that wasn't there before. Old photos get pulled out. Stories about ex-boyfriends shift from embarrassment to wistful remembering. She's not living in the present anymore. She's mourning a past that's gone. Then come the new friends, specifically divorced women who found themselves. These aren't friends. They're dealers pushing a drug called "You Deserve Better." They gather for wine nights that are really grievance sessions, comparing notes on how oppressed they were, how much happier they are now. Your stable marriage gets reframed as a prison through their poisonous lens. Social media becomes her new reality, hours scrolling through carefully curated lives, comparing her behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. The algorithm learns what she wants to see. Transformation stories, brave women starting over, love after 40. Every scroll confirms what her panicking brain wants to believe. Everyone else is living better, and it's not too late to join them. The physical changes come in waves. First, it's subtle maintenance, new skincare routines, hair treatments, procedures she swore she'd never do. Then escalation, drastic diets, obsessive exercise, clothes that belong in her daughter's closet. She's not trying to look good. She's trying to look young. There's desperation in every purchase, every workout, every selfie angle she practices in the mirror. Finally, the emotional withdrawal. She needs space, me time, mysterious commitments that didn't exist before. She's either picking fights constantly or eerily pleasant. Both are bad signs. One means she's building a case against you. The other means she's managing guilt about what she's already doing or planning to do. You know what really infuriates me? Society encourages this destruction. Every magazine, every talk show, every therapist tells her she deserves to be happy. She needs to find herself. She should never settle. They validate her panic, encourage her rebellion, celebrate her destruction of the family. They tell her that her feelings matter more than her commitments. Her happiness matters more than her children's stability. Her desires matter more than the devastation she causes. Nobody tells her the truth, that beauty fades for everyone, that attention is a drug you need to quit, that building something lasting matters more than chasing something fleeting. Nobody tells her that the excitement she's chasing is just brain chemistry, not meaning. The butterflies she misses are just anxiety, not love. The passion she craves is just novelty, not depth. Instead, they pump her full of empowerment nonsense. You go, girl, live your truth, follow your heart. As if a 40-year-old woman following her hormones is any different than a 16-year-old boy following his. Both are slaves to biology. Both make terrible decisions. Both destroy everything for a temporary high. And you're expected to understand, to be supportive, to give her space, to work on yourself. As if any amount of working on yourself can compete with the thrill of being desired by someone new. You could become the perfect husband tomorrow and it wouldn't matter, because perfect is predictable. And predictable doesn't release dopamine. Another truth nobody wants to admit. The role of her friends in tearing it all down. You know those divorced friends she hangs out with? Those empowered women who left their husbands and are now living their best life. They're not her friends. They're her dealers. They feed her poison disguised as wisdom. You deserve better. Life's too short. You only live once. They're pushing her toward the cliff because they need company at the bottom. They need validation that they made the right choice. And nothing validates a bad decision like watching someone else make the same one. Watch what happens when your wife starts spending more time with divorced women. Suddenly, every normal marital issue becomes abuse. Every routine becomes oppression. Every responsibility becomes sacrifice. These women reframe her entire life through the lens of victimhood. Your normal, stable marriage becomes a prison she needs to escape. Your reasonable expectations become unreasonable demands. Your decade of support becomes a decade of suppression. And social media, that's like throwing gasoline on a bonfire. She's not comparing her marriage to other marriages. She's comparing her real life to digital fantasies, filtered photos, and carefully crafted lies. The algorithm becomes her therapist, feeding her exactly what her panicking brain wants to hear, that leaving is brave, staying is settling, and happiness is just one dramatic decision away. The reality she doesn't see is the aftermath. They don't show the woman 6 months later after the new boyfriend turned out to be just another flawed human. They don't show her spending Christmas alone because the kids chose to stay with dad. They don't show her realizing that starting over at 40 isn't liberating, it's exhausting. They don't show her understanding that she traded a deep connection for shallow attention, a real partnership for a temporary high. You see, yes, men age completely differently psychologically. When a man hits 40, society tells him he's entering his prime. Silver fox, distinguished, finally has resources and experience. His value in the dating market often increases. He knows this, feels this, operates from abundance, even if his belly is growing and his hair is thinning. But women's society tells them they're expired goods, past their prime, invisible. Every birthday after 35 is a funeral for their youth. While men are told their wine is getting better with age, women are told their milk is going sour. This psychological difference is crucial. Men face aging with confidence. Women face it with terror. That's why male midlife crises are usually about reclaiming youth through toys and adventures. Female midlife crises are about denying aging through destroying everything that reminds them time has passed, including the family that represents their years spent as just a wife and mother. A 45-year-old man knows he can still attract women if he wanted. That knowledge alone is often enough. He doesn't need to act on it. A 45-year-old woman believes her last chance at being desired is slipping away. That desperation makes her act on every opportunity, real or imagined. This isn't about fairness or equality. It's about recognizing that men and women face aging with completely different psychological frameworks, and those differences drive completely different behaviors. His crisis embarrasses him. Her crisis destroys families. And here's the brutal reality. Most men never see it coming. They believe loyalty means security. They think years together mean protection. They assume sacrifices made, houses built, children raised, that all adds up to insurance against betrayal. It doesn't, because while you were building a future, she was silently auditing her feelings. While you were planning retirement, she was planning escape routes. While you were focused on loyalty, she was focused on novelty. And when she finally leaves, everyone will applaud her. Friends, family, co-workers, they'll all say how brave she is, how inspiring, how strong. Nobody will talk about the wreckage. Nobody will mention the children who cry themselves to sleep. Nobody will acknowledge the man who gave everything, only to be discarded like a broken appliance. You'll be told to man up, to get over it, to pay your alimony and child support like a good little soldier, to respect her journey of self-discovery. You'll be mocked if you rage. You'll be shamed if you cry. Your pain is invisible. Her empowerment is celebrated. This is why strong men walk away silently. They see the trap. They understand the game is rigged. They know that arguing, begging, pleading, none of it works. The more you fight, the more ammunition you give her, the more you resist, the more you look like the villain in her empowerment story. Silence becomes their weapon. Walking away becomes their victory, not because they don't care, but because they finally understand the futility of caring in a world that rewards destruction and punishes devotion. A strong man doesn't waste years trying to fix someone committed to breaking things. He doesn't fight for attention that's already been given to someone else. He doesn't destroy himself trying to save someone who doesn't want to be saved. He walks silently, with dignity, and that silence terrifies her, because she expected drama, begging, tears. She expected validation of her worth through your collapse. Instead, she gets nothing. No fuel for her narrative, no energy for her chaos, just absence, just emptiness, just a mirror reflecting back her own choices. This is the stoic truth. You can't control what she does. You can't control her panic, her fear of aging, her need for validation. You can only control yourself, your reaction, your dignity, your legacy. Walking away silently isn't weakness. It's the ultimate strength, because it means you've mastered yourself. You've rejected the script society wrote for you. You've chosen peace over chaos, self-respect over humiliation, future over past. Understand this: silence is not absence of words. Silence is presence of power. It's saying everything without saying anything. It's the refusal to dance to someone else's music. It's the calm declaration: I don't need this. I don't need you. I am enough on my own. And when you embody that truth, you become untouchable. You stop being the man who was left and start being the man who walked away. You stop being defined by someone else's panic and start being defined by your own discipline. You stop being a victim of circumstance and start being the author of your own destiny. The world won't applaud you. They won't celebrate you. They won't call you brave. But you'll know, deep down, in the quiet of your soul, you'll know that you chose the harder path. The path of silence, the path of dignity, the path of true strength. And in the end, That's what being an emotionally strong man is all about. Not loud declarations, not desperate battles, not humiliating chases, but calm, quiet power. The kind of strength that doesn't need to be seen, because it can be felt. The kind of strength that doesn't need to be proved, because it's undeniable. The kind of strength that walks away silently and never looks back.